much to say, and we'll try to look for the right words and say what's worth saying. Well, as a person walking on the Red Road since over 3 decades, I have had the great blessings to meet elders since a young age, and people who have provided many teachings and guidance that have given a direction and a purpose to my life. So there are many of them. It would be long to list them all. As I come from, I can say, a family that lost its roots on the native side. I grew up in Montreal, and my grandfather was born in Saskatchewan from a Cree mother. And we always had this story in the family, but it was some kind of doubts and maybe a little taboo due to the years of residential school and acculturation that the First Nation went through. So it was not until my grandfather was in his 70s that his brother came from Saskatchewan, and they could tell us the whole story. As when they were kids, they were actually being thrown rocks and discriminated for being Indians. This with the residential school, as it was the official policy back then, they succeeded in killing the Indian as a child. And since my grandfather was an orphan at 4 and he was raised in residential schools, there was no transmission of the culture or language from my bloodline. So I had to look at around 16, 17. I started traveling around the continent and look for some guidance. It was not until actually last summer where I finally ended going back to the land of my ancestors in northern Saskatchewan, around Prince Albert area, and so I could discover there the grave of my great-great-grandfather and the land where my great-grandparents lived and operated a ferry, and where my grandfather was born, and also connected with some third-degree cousins that are Cree. So it was finally on my 50th year that I got to connect with the land of my ancestors and some distant Cree relatives to complete the cycle of return on my origins. But my spiritual teachings came mostly from my travels, and which I started around 16. And I went around looking for all different spiritual guidance I could find, trying temples and churches and ashrams, and taking lessons every place, learning different ways. And until I was directed by a spiritual teacher to advise me to go to Hopi Land, where he said I would find some great truth. So I ended up there, and my first contact was very welcoming. I was taken in Shongopovi in the house of a matriarch who was at the moment receiving the blue model for the village, and those brothers showed me a lot of their teachings with stories and pictures. I was blessed with a Neo feather, my first one. That was back in '83. So that's how I first got in contact, and I was also invited to stay a few days and see my first Kachina dance. What I learned there in just a few days, and at the beginning, was like clarification on many questions I had that were left unanswered by the other teachings I had heard. So the Hopi knowledge came to me to clarify and to join the edges, join to complete the circle of because there are references and similarities in their teaching as you can find in many other places of the world, and it's like it combines many of those elements. So that's where from there I started. I put my first prayer feather at that time in the Oraibi. I was given a paho prayer feather to tie there. My prayer was to ask Creator to use me for His service. So that was pretty much at the beginning of my path, and I kept going, and I've connected also with many different other First Nations and elders of different places. I was blessed to meet those elders who are welcoming and very generous with their teachings. Among the Hopi, I met David Mononge when he was 117. We visited him in his home in Hatvila. And it was his last year with us, and he was blind then, but he was very highly clear-sighted. And he said he had been expecting us that day, and many more people like us would follow, he said. We had a circle with him, and I shared his teachings. And then I met that same year, that was in '86, I met Thomas Maniacha in his home in Kikosmovi. And that was 6 years before he fulfilled the prophecy and opened the door of the House of Micah, the United Nations, in '92 with the opening of the Indigenous Year, the International Year of the Indigenous People, the United Nations. So that's what he told me among his other teaching, that it was, he was the last surviving elder of the council they held in 1948, when they knew and they decided their peace message had to be spread and to reach the leaders in the House of Micah in the United Nations, as it was foretold.
They said that there'd be a House of Micah standing on Eastern land someday.
So it was Thomas Maniacha's life mission to fulfill this, and that's what he did a few years after I met him.
But has never opened the door to the native people in this land.
I also met White Bear. Oswald Fredericks is his other name. He was one of the main sources for the Book of the Hopi, and he was an amazing, I would say, master. He's one of those rare people I could see white light coming up, surrounding them when looking at him. It was. I went 3 times to meet him. He had some very amazing teachings to share. And among other things, he was copying and gathering all the petroglyphs of the Americas and explaining them in the light of Hopi knowledge, as the Hopi have migrated to the 4 corners of the Americas before settling where they are now. So they have left traces, and they have brought back stories from all those journeys. That's why the Hopi also have so many clans, like about 48, as compared to many First Nations who have half a dozen or to a dozen. Because they have gathered, their clans have been to the 4 directions and came back. So they have stories from all the ancient stone cities in the central of South America and the mounds in the Midwest, and they find their symbols and their clan signatures in those places. And some elders have described some of those cities in detail without ever seeing them. So the Hopi carry all this knowledge of the Americas and of their history and their traditions.
They sure do.
So White Bear was one who was gathering all this information and sharing it. And he also, among other things, told me that he was the last human who was still representing the Earth and the Confederation of Sister Planets. And he was flying with the Star People, who would land behind his house on Prophecy Rock. He showed us the place. And right on his front yard, he had a collection of parts of spaceships. And he told me a place where I was heading. He said, "You will find some there," and he was right. There was some there too. So there's some of the knowledge that is being passed there by some elders, and got to provide guidance for me. There are other Hopi elders I met too, like Caroline Tawan-Gauma, and also Grandfather Titus. I met in 94, in 94, sorry, just coming back from the World Unity Gathering at the Grand Canyon, where there was wisdom keepers from all around the world gathered there. We went to visit Grandfather Titus at the foot of the 3rd Mesa, and he had just completed the final part of the Song of Purification, which is supposed to be sung at the end of the 4th world, which marks the end of this world. That was in 94, and that same week, that same time, the White Buffalo, the first one of our modern times, Miracle, was born in Wisconsin, in Janesville, and I went afterward to see her and offer her a pipe I had made. So this song of purification of Grandfather Titus was basically a great sign of the prophecy also that went quite unnoticed, but that was also playing a great part in the unfolding of the prophetic events. And I also met Grandfather Martin Gashwa-Sheoma. From last news I heard, he is still with us. Of all the other elders I have met.
Yeah, he's doing a little bit better now. He wasn't too good there for a little while, but I've heard that he's kind of on a little bit of the mend. But yeah, that was pretty tough there.
110 by now.
No, he's not quite that old. He's in, I forget, he's about, 95 or 96 or something like that, maybe. I think he's still down in Sedona right now.
Okay. Okay, right. Well, okay, I met him. Actually, I went to Europe for almost 3 years. 94 to 97, and I was sent there with a vision to go share some teachings from Turtle Island with our European relatives, because they are seeking it. They need this connection with the earth, Mother Earth, with the spirit, with the living beings. And so I went and did workshops around communities out there and some ceremonies. And
I'd say you were really lucky. You started in this work at a very auspicious time, and we're really happy to have you with us tonight. If there's anybody out there who would like to talk to Bo, you can call in to 347-996-3311.